Marky Worthington Podcast all day.
All day.
Dream by night.
Don't buy me a drink. Just give me $10.
All day.
Go down to the strip club with your floppy disk and turn it into a hard drive.
Yeah, right. You'll get fucking thrown out by Big Tony.
We're here to name names and make people feel more ashamed for shit that they're not proud of.
Don't blow it. Keep it simple. Count your money.
Oh, whatever it is.
We're here with Danielle Drop Bear Curtis.
That's it. That's the one.
Back again. A repeat offender on the show. Good to have you back. We covered off heaps in the last episode.
We did.
I think there was actually a couple of things we didn't get to. I've made a mental note. You know, like it's like when you play like a really big map game, you need to remember like which parts you need to go back to for the side quests.
That's it. Get those side quests in. We want 100%.
100% the podcast. But yeah, no, it's good. It's good to have you back. You're this is in the eve of big fight tomorrow.
Big fight tomorrow. Weigh-ins tonight. So keen to get them done and go eat some food. That's exciting. Gonna head to Grease Monkey, get some burgers. I think.
Yeah, nice.
I just want the salty goodness.
Just need that.
Yeah, just need some salt.
I feel like isn't. So part of cutting weight is a lot of water weight, right? Like it's heavily water based.
Yeah, it depends how you're going. Like obviously you can do a long, slow cut and that, but the last part of it is always going to be that water manipulation, which is essentially dehydration. But there's a lot more to it than just the water. In terms of like the last sort of week or so, you're manipulating a number of things. So glycogen, sodium. To fiber, so you want to do a low residue diet, which is basically low fiber because fiber takes a long time to break down, so it sits in your stomach for a long time.
Yep.
So it's just basically dead weight. So obviously eating low fiber or no fiber is not good long term.
Yeah.
But for a couple of days you can move a fair bit of weight, especially depending on, you know, your size, and then also if you generally eat a fair bit of fiber, like that, you can. Some of the bigger guys drop a couple of kilos. Just from that. And then sort of same with obviously dropping your water weight. Prior to that, we water load and drink a whole bunch of water to get a few adaptations in the body to make it operate a certain way and actually believe that it's super hydrated when you do go into that cut. And we do like heat acclimation, so whatever method that you're going to cut your weight in, whether that's heat baths or saunas or a sauna suit or whatever, we could try and do that a few times when we're hydrated and water loading and drinking lots of water throughout the week in the lead up. So your body gets used to it. Mentally, you get used to it again because they are really tough. That's probably the hardest part of fighting is the weight cut, specifically that end part. And also, so your body gets used to sweating, and it's, you know, you can sort of measure your sweat rate and have a pretty good idea of what you're going to need to do on weigh-in day, which is today for me. I don't have too much to do, so that'll be sort of later today, and then on to weigh-in. So I'll only be like that, really dehydrated only for a very small amount of time, and then which makes it easier to rehydrate as well. So it's all science-based and stuff, and I actually have a dietitian. It's the Dojo dietitian, and he operates as part of the group underneath the fight dietitian, which is basically he's really well known for doing all the work with all the UFC fighters over this side of the world, so like Australia and New Zealand, but also when they've held events over this side, you know, his team help out with a lot of them, and obviously a lot of local fighters, and they also do not just weight cutting and stuff for competition, but obviously a lot of like jiu-jitsu and wrestling athletes as well. And then they also have people who are just either, you know, any other kind of athlete or just general people that want help with nutrition. And yeah,
that makes sense.
Yeah, so working with someone and giving someone else that responsibility, and, you know, if you have any worries and reaching out to them. But yeah, it's all sort of science-based. A lot of things you manipulate to make weight safely, or as safe as you possibly can.
So we're talking in the previous episode about some of the risks involved in dehydration and weight cutting, like and it seems like it's a fairly sort of risky thing to do if you don't know how to do it the right way.
Yeah, a lot of people generally learn and get on the the right path
Yeah.
by having done the wrong thing.
Yeah.
I'm one of them. I reckon I got pretty close to dying from making weight one time.
Yeah. What was the weight difference there? You said in the previous episode, but in the when
So when I did it the wrong way and
Yeah.
I had a lot of things go wrong in the lead up to, like I had injuries and stuff, so
Yeah.
I wasn't able to shift as much weight. But so I had an 8-week camp, so I had 8 weeks, and at the beginning of the 8 weeks I was nearly 80 kilos and
Yep.
I weighed in at 63.
yeah, that's crazy.
8 weeks, and I probably
That's-
did close to 7 kilos in 2 days, which
Oof.
is, for me, like, it may be different for a heavyweight who's 110 kilos, but
Yep.
like 7 kilos for someone that's going to be weighing in at 63
Yep.
is like a very large percentage of your like body mass. And yeah, I wrecked my body for quite a fair bit of time doing that, and yeah, it was terrible, and I couldn't rehydrate properly. I just couldn't, so I
Yeah.
didn't even sleep the
Yeah.
night before the fight because I was trying to drink water every hour to
trying to
you know,
just get back to hydration.
yeah.
You're saying that it was a tough time. For people that don't know the brackets, what weight class do you fight in, and what's the bracket of weight for that class?
So for MMA is a bit different to all the other combat sports. So boxing, kickboxing, Muay Thai, K1, they all kind of have weight divisions every sort of 5 pounds, every couple of kilos, so
Yep.
like 2 to 3 kilos. MMA, unfortunately, has massive jumps, and the higher up the weight divisions you go, the bigger the jumps are. So they're usually between sort of 5 to 7 kilos, but then as you get higher up into like middleweight to then light heavyweight, and to heavyweight, you're, you know, sometimes getting 20 kilo weight differences or something like that. So it's huge.
Yeah, right.
Obviously, so I am fighting this weekend and planning on fighting, you know, for the foreseeable future at bantamweight, which is 61.2 kilos. But I had been previously fighting at featherweight, which was 60, which is the next weight division,
Yep.
which is 65.8. So you've got like 61 and then basically nearly 66.
Yeah.
So if you are walking around in peak condition
Yep.
at like 67, or, you know, do you just walk into a fight at 66 and not do anything and
Yeah.
then have people who are mid 70s that you're fighting?
Yeah.
Or do you go down to 61?
Yeah.
And so I guess that's the kind of thing. But what happens if you naturally, at peak athletic performance, you sit at 63 or 64? You know, like there's a big difference, and they don't necessarily sit the weight divisions at the common body types either,
Yeah.
or common weights. So
Yeah.
you pretty much, everyone cuts pretty much.
Yeah.
How much you decide to and how far you go, like you really should be investing in professionals and testing and, you know, to decide that.
Yep.
But obviously there is always a trade-off. So, you know, cool, you might be bigger than someone and rehydrate, but you've been killing yourself to make it. So how good is your performance really going to be?
Yeah.
So you really do need to find that middle ground to find where you're going to perform the best. And, you know, you may not have advantages over every opponent because there's so many different body shapes and styles, especially with women. Like, it's just crazy. So, you know, you got to be more strategic in terms of maybe your game plan in your style and what you're good at. But, yeah, there's definitely a lot of science and a lot of stuff you got to do to sort of find out where is going to be the right weight division for you. And that's why it's probably less common to see double champs and virtually almost unheard of triple weight division champs in MMA, whereas in boxing we see people jump between the 2 weight divisions constantly and potentially 3. Sometimes over a career you've got people going 4, 5, 6 different weight divisions that they've competed in and all that kind of stuff, which is obviously quite rare in MMA because it's such a big jump, and because of it being a bigger jump, you know that if you're like quite comfortable in one division, you decide to go up to challenge for, you know, a second belt or whatever it may be, you got to remember that they're not just that jump bigger, they're not just that 5 kilos bigger, because they're going to be cutting down from much bigger, so they're potentially 10, 15 kilos. So it's a big jump.
Yeah.
like, I know 5 kilos when you talk about it to people doesn't seem like much, but when you're talking, 50s and 60 kilo people who are at peak athleticism, to then strip another 5 kilos off them somewhere is massive. So, yeah,
it's like a larger percentage of their total.
Yeah, of their body mass. And I mean, like, if you're looking at some of the guys at the top level, like, they're already muscular, but they're already low body fat. Like, where else are you going to take this from? You have to start chopping limbs off, kind of thing. Yeah, so it's interesting because there's like quite a lot of people in the men's, because of the common body type, between 155. So prior to that, they all go up in sort of 10. So you've got straw weight, which is 115 pounds, flyweight, which is 125, bantamweight, which is 135. So that's the one that's 61.2.
Yeah.
Featherweight is 145, which is your 65.8, but then it starts jumping. So then we're going to go from 155 all the way to 170.
Yeah, right.
And so there's a lot of people that performance isn't great at 155 because they're killing themselves to make it.
Yep.
And then you've got, or they go and fight at 170 and they're just so much smaller. So again, their performance, like, they feel good, but their performance in terms of against their opponents aren't great. But if they had a 160 or a 165 division, you'd have this whole range of fighters that are so good that could be champions, but because they're stuck there, like their body just doesn't allow them, like, they have the potential to be champions and would have probably better fights if there was a 160 or 165.
Yeah, right. I follow a few, like, powerlifters on Instagram, and I hear them talk about the weight classes in powerlifting.
Yeah.
And it's interesting to hear, like, similar sort of issues in other sports as well. I follow a female powerlifter that's gone up a weight class that found, because of the sport, found that they performed better in a higher weight class, and was able to, like, start getting better training because they weren't focusing on weight cutting, they were focusing on, like, training,
that performance, and that your end goal. And that's the thing, I think that's the thing that people lose sight of in weight-based sports in general. They're going, well, I need that advantage, I need to be bigger, I need to be cutting and whatever. But if you're doing that all the time and your only goal is to make weight, you got to remember that's your only goal. Your goal, you've lost sight of the goal, which is you want to win the fight, or you want to progress your career, or you want to get better at this, that, and whatever else. Making weight's one component of it. And that's why you should really see a professional to help you decide and figure things out and use science and take a bit of that stress off. But also, you're not adequately fueling yourself for those sessions. So your sessions and your training in the lead up are crap. Like, and then you expect to, just because you're taller or longer or physically a little bit bigger, to be able to perform better than someone else. Well, not really. If they've been eating great and they're performing really well and they're super hydrated and they've got clear thinking, because, when you're dehydrated, you can't take as much damage. You're probably not thinking great. You might have slower reactions, all of those kind of things as well. But even just the mental and physical fatigue that you would be feeling in all of your training in the lead up to the fight, like, it's not worth it. Yeah. Obviously, some people can get away with it for a while, but at some point in time, you're going to miss weight, or you're not going to make the weigh-ins because your body shuts down on you or whatever, or eventually you're going to have to go up anyway. Something like that's going to happen. And I really think that in MMA, I would love to see in the future that there be more weight divisions, because that really is that deciding factor a lot of the time, is that they don't want to be in this one that they're walking around close to, because they're going to be smaller than all the massive people who are cutting down. So then they kill themselves to make the next weight, I think that's the only way that we combat people missing weight and all the issues around weight cutting, because that's where you see people die or see people get really injured or wreck their bodies. It's not so much in the cage. It's this
lead up to it. Yeah.
And long-term damage to your body and stuff too. So Yeah.
Have you, in your experience, have you ever fought someone that you knew was going down a weight class and you felt like that they didn't perform to their full potential just by like within the fight? You could tell that they were kind of holding back or were distracted.
Have I fought someone?
Yeah.
It's hard. I definitely fought someone sort of like the opposite, like they were probably a little bit small for the weight division. Like I was definitely bigger than them.
Yeah.
I've definitely also fought a fight where they were so much bigger than me.
Yeah.
But that was also got to do with the promotion and them changing it from a normal weight division to we're not going to weight cut now, so now you can weigh in 5 to 6 to 7 kilos heavier. And I wasn't aware of that until like a week or two before that fight. So so I mean, but I don't know about I don't 100% know if any of my opponents have done a huge cut. No. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, like, I haven't personally, but I've obviously seen a lot of ones. Like, you can tell when they're weighing in and they're, you know, struggling to stand up and, you know, all of those kinds of things.
So you've seen that sort of stuff, like, just being, not necessarily an opponent, but just someone in the scene?
Yeah.
Wow.
Like, it happens at the highest level. It happens in the UFC all the time. You know, it happens all the time. You'll see people struggling to even step on the scales, you know, and you're like, how are you going to rehydrate and fight someone? You know, and a lot of people end up getting pulled from the fight that day before when they're weight cutting, you know, trying to make weigh-ins. That's when a fight sometimes will get pulled because they have to go to hospital.
Yeah.
They haven't done it right and they're trying to cut outrageous amounts. So
that's crazy.
Yeah, and it happens all the time.
So how far out from a fight do you usually say, like in your experience, has been a good time to start cutting?
So actually cutting the water part, or like starting to manipulate your weight?
Manipulate your weight.
So pretty much as soon as I get a fight offer, I'll be talking with my dietitian. Like I'm talking with my dietitian all the time. So, and I think that's the best way to go about it, rather than going, oh, I've been given this fight, I'm going to work specifically for that. Well, no, I want to be peak performance. I want to be recovering the best that I can. I want to be sleeping the best that I can, and I want to be good all year round. So that, and my goals always be, well, I want to be fighting at this weight class. So outside of competition, I want to be no more than sort of this, you know, and speaking with my dietitian about those things and then goals. So then if you get a short notice fight and stuff like that, you know exactly where you are. If you've done weight cuts and made weight with your dietitian before, then we know how your body responds, what way you like to cut, what kind of food you respond really well to, and what that breakdown is. And then you're just manipulating. It's not completely redoing everything. So to be ready all the time, you should really be, you know, and it's not saying you're on a diet all the time, but it also, they help you understand sort of how to eat for performance. They're not necessarily telling you what to eat, but even just sort of like the components, sort of if you go this much protein and sort of this much fat and this much, you know, carbs or other, you know, and then you can have your time off and stuff that where you go, well, after this fight, I'm going to take a week and do what I want. But you're also not being restricted. And like the dietitian that I work with and like that team, they ask you all those questions. They don't just track your food and your weight. They'll track your sleep, your stress, like for female athletes, obviously menstruation and stuff as well. Hydration, they'll talk to you about SUPs and that kind of stuff. But they actually ask you what kind of food you like to eat. And they try and structure your food or give you options to eat the kind of food that you like eating, but just making it sort of hitting the kind of macros that you need to be. So like I'm a very savoury person. So my plan, my dietitian gave me a lot more sort of like where some people like sweets and smoothies and that kind of stuff. Mine was more like things kind of like tacos or burritos or like pizza, you know, things like that. So that you don't ever feel like you need to go out and binge a crazy amount. Like you just work the kind of things, and there's never any, it's not bad to go and eat with your friends out or anything like that. It just shows you how to manipulate everything else. So I kind of try and work with trying to stay in touch with him all the time. But obviously, whenever I get an offer, I'll go to him and go, this is what it is. It'll be this. And so when you weigh in on shows, generally there's also a weight allowance.
Okay.
And that's to do with obviously different scales read differently. And so in the UFC, you would know that there's always a 1 pound allowance. So obviously we don't work in pounds. So some shows it can be anywhere from like 300 grams to 500 grams usually.
Yep.
So for tonight's one, there's a 500 gram allowance. So the weight division limit is 61.2 with the 500 gram allowance on their weigh-in scale. You just have to be 61.7 or below.
Okay.
So yeah, you go through that with your dietitian, but also whether it's the same day weigh-in for something like a wrestling comp or jiu-jitsu. Some boxing shows have same day weigh-ins. Or whether it's 24 hours like what it is. Pretty much all MMA shows are 24 hours. So that also plays a big role because if it's same day, we don't want to be doing that acute dehydration.
Yeah.
We would still look at some of the other stuff like water loading and maybe the low fiber to move that kind of weight and salt manipulation, that kind of stuff. But those are more for your 24-hour weigh-ins because we can manipulate a lot more. We can do, saunas and heat baths and that kind of stuff. So you can go quite a lot if you've got, say, like an 8 weeks. So, like, it'd be quite happy. They don't like us cutting sort of more than, in that acute bit, sort of more than 5% of your body weight.
Yep.
But that's just because they like to do a very safe way. If they have athletes that they know can do it and say, they're in the UFC and they're fighting for a belt or, big money or something like that, and they know that they can handle it and that kind of stuff, they may do, up to 10%, possibly more, but they don't really, want to do those kind of things.
Yeah, okay.
Because you're also paying them for a service to keep you healthy and safe.
Yeah, yeah.
So they'll tell you if they don't, they're like, no, I don't think that's achievable right from the get-go. So they're very upfront. But yeah, so you'll generally be slowly cutting, like as in just normal diet, so that you're losing weight and you're becoming quite lean, losing body fat, trying to maintain your muscle, high protein, all that kind of stuff with your training. And then, that last week is your water loading, and we're obviously manipulating glycogen, sodium, we're not having sugar or salt basically, or very little carbs. We still have carbs, but they're all really fast burning ones, low fiber, and that gets rid of a lot of weight as it is. And through the water loading, it'll make your acute water loss easier. And then whatever you've got left is going to be sauna or bath or sweatsuit. And they like it to be 5% or under of your body, your total body mass. Yeah. So just to be super safe. Yeah. They know you're going to rehydrate effectively, you're going to be able to perform really well. Yep. Yeah. So that's what you're kind of looking at.
Yeah, nice. How are we looking for tomorrow? You said that you got the weigh in tonight.
Yeah.
How's things all lining up?
Yeah, really, really good. This camp's been really good. Training's really good. Obviously weight has been really good. This will be my first fight at Bantam. I've been wanting to go down to bantamweight for ages. But yeah, everything's on track. It's been really, really good. I'm feeling really good, feeling really strong. Easy weight cut. I said, get a professional. It makes your life so much less stressful and just so easy. You can ask them any questions. So I haven't got much to go. Obviously I'm here on weigh-in day, so I can't be too stressed about it all.
Yeah, exactly. I was thinking about normally if I have a podcast guest, I'm trying to work out what I want to drink, do you want food, all that sort of stuff. You've been easy. Yeah, it's just easy. just need a mic and get into it. But yeah, you spoke in the previous podcast you were talking earlier about different promotion strategies and like not knowing some of the behind the scenes stuff, you know, last minute changing, you know, the weight sort of thing. And we didn't speak about it in the last podcast, but it was on the agenda. We just didn't get to it because you know how we get. But something I wanted to ask about was like, have you ever had any like sort of experiences with promotion that were just sort of not like the best for your, you know, introduction to the world?
Yep. So the one where they changed the weight considerably. Yeah. So basically it was meant to be a featherweight fight at 65.8, and then they went, oh, we're going to do a no cutting thing because it's safer, but didn't tell me or my coach until you know, a week or two out. So I weighed in fully hydrated at 66, and my opponent weighed in at 70 something, 71 or 72. Yeah. And they had, like, it was pretty obvious that they had cut as well. So they obviously knew. But that's life, like learning experience, you know, it is what it is. Still got to fight. Yeah. Whatever. But like, that would turn me off ever going back to the promotion. That promotion doesn't exist anymore anyway. Yeah. So I think there was a few other issues. But there are some promotions that really just set people up. Like they favor, obviously, everyone favors their own fighters. Yeah. But I mean, and it's not always necessarily the promotion or the matchmaker. Sometimes it's the coaches on the other end who are trying to handpick fights. So they'll say, you know, oh, I've got a fighter, this will be his debut in MMA, never fought in MMA before, and he's a white belt in jiu-jitsu. What he's not telling you is he's had 20 kickboxing fights and he's, you know, competed, you know, in Commonwealth Games in wrestling or something like that. Yeah. You know, so the promotion, if they are not one to go and do further research, because, you know, you're reaching out to these gyms and stuff, so you're going to match that person with someone who this is literally their first ever fight. Experience. So that doesn't work very well for anyone involved, because that person may get beaten really badly and decide, I don't want to ever do this again. Or, you know, then that gym may feel like they don't want to be on that promotion anymore because they got stitched up. But so sometimes it can come from the promotion, the promoter, looking after their people. But sometimes it's also that they're just trying to matchmake, and the coaches of gyms and stuff will just tell them what they want to tell them. You know? So you've always got to be careful, and you've got to have a good coach and good team and know that they're looking out for you when you're sort of matchmaking and stuff, especially when you start, you know, to maybe have a little bit of a look into the other opponents and stuff. Just make sure that if you do a quick search for them, you know, you don't see them, you know...
Kickboxing world champions.
Yeah. They've already got a belt in some other sport. So in MMA, that's a big thing that happens all the time. Yeah, right. If you're a pro in MMA and you decide you want to go to boxing, you have to be pro. Boxing will make you go pro. So the other combat sports care. If you're pro in the other one, you have to be pro. Unfortunately, MMA, specifically within Australia at the moment, Combat Sports Authority doesn't have anything in place, so you could literally be a world champion in one of the other sports, different and come over and be a professional athlete and having gotten paid and experience, and you can come in as an amateur, which is really frustrating. Obviously, a lot of people, if they have the status from another one, like you could imagine someone like Floyd Mayweather would never go and have an amateur MMA fight. Yeah. And he's the kind of person that, like...
They wouldn't be able to pay him enough.
I know he's not in Australia, but, like, someone of that kind of notoriety probably would never, ever go into amateur, and they probably would pull someone like that up. But for everyone else... there's nothing stopping you from being a pro boxer or pro Muay Thai kickboxer. Yeah, right. And going, well, I haven't had an MMA fight, I'll go AMI, which is, you know, pretty. Yeah,
it seems unfair.
Annoying. Yeah. Obviously, there are some experienced amateurs in MMA out there that obviously take those fights and stuff like that. So you know, it is what it is. But always making sure that you do your research. Yeah. And I mean, at the end of the day, I think that's more the thing that you need to look at. What rules? Because it doesn't matter what the show is. It more matters what the amateur body is that provides the officials for that show. So Combat Sports Authority is the overarching thing in Australia, but underneath that there's a whole bunch of amateur bodies. So there's like MASA, AMASA, WKBF, and all of them have a different version of the rules and different classes of rules, and then they're also different between states.
Yeah,
so you
right.
always need to be making sure with your promoter and your matchmaker, okay, which one of the rule sets are we fighting under? Can I do this? Can I do that? Can't I do this? Yeah,
okay.
Which can be really frustrating.
Just all like being, open with communication, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Which isn't always the case by the sounds of it.
Yeah, well, it's hard. So, I always will ask. I'm like, can you give me a copy of the rules?
Yeah.
Or I'll be like, what can and can't you do? Which amateur body or who's officiating this? Because the promotions may not always use the same one. So you can't sort of take it for granted, I fought on that show before and it was this rules. Because the last thing you'd want to do is get DQ'd for something.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, that can be a big frustration point. And just, generally matchmaking is the biggest frustration for everyone.
Yep.
And it can be a promotion's fault, but most of the time it's also the actual gyms and coaches and teams sort of withholding information. So,
Okay.
No one wants to see just a 2-second
and you're done,
blowout. Because, it's not good for the sport. It's as cool as it is if you're that person's friends.
Yeah.
Everyone else is like, oh, well, I've just watched 5 fights in 20 minutes.
Yeah.
That's not what you really want to see anyway. You want to see competitive fights. So.
Yeah, no, I get it. When it's more evenly matched, which is why it just seems to make sense to have all the rules and regs.
Yeah. Other than that, promotions are pretty stock standard.
Just keep checking for questions to see if anyone's just randomly talking shit or something. But yeah, no, that's good. It's good to it's good to hear some of the inner workings, because a lot of the time, what we see on as far as fights go is just the tip of the iceberg.
It's the very end of it.
Yeah.
Because all of this stuff goes on well and truly before you ever get there. Fight day is the easy part.
Yeah.
And obviously,
if you did it right leading up to fight day.
Yeah. Well, it's the fun part.
Yeah.
But also things when you pro and stuff, obviously negotiating pay and fights and sort of accommodation and stuff when you're traveling, if you don't live where the show is and all of that kind of stuff as well. So they're the other things that you take into account as well. There's a lot that goes on behind the scenes, and if people pull out or get injured and trying to replace fights, and where you are on a card and all of that kind of stuff as well. So there's a lot involved.
Yeah, it's a bit with with comedy, the whole what you do on stage is just it's a lot of it, but writing can and rehearsing and all that sort of stuff, it goes it completely changes the outcome of everything. If only they had the crossover classes for comedy. If you're a famous actor, you have to go into the pro comedy scene. You can't just go in as an Emmy. So many people will get to the top of comedy because they were doing something else before. It'll be come and...
They've got that fan base, I guess.
For example, I know there's a lot of people that have done spoken word tours, which is essentially comedy, but just because they're a famous singer or a famous actor or something, they just go straight to sold out shows. It's just straight into the pro level. But a lot of it goes into it, and also I know for a fact with comedy, it's easy to get stitched up. You can go, because the thing is, it's something you want to do as a passion, right? And yourself as well. It's obviously something that you're doing as a passion, not just because it pays the bills.
It does not pay the bills.
It's like myself, I like often say that like, oh yeah, comedy pays the bills. Like it doesn't, but if it did, that would be the like
That'd be the
primo.
dream.
Yeah, that's the dream, right? It's getting to the point where like your hobby is like it pays you enough money so that you don't need a like source of income from another direction.
Yeah, your passion.
But yeah, it's so easy to get stitched up because what you you want to take a gig because you really want to like, you know, whole
Take
shit.
that opportunity.
Yeah, like I've
get in
never
front of
worked.
people.
Yeah, I've never worked that room. I don't know that town. I don't know what that crowd's like. I would love to go there and do comedy, right?
Yeah.
And then you don't talk about pay. You don't talk about anything. You just it's because you're
jumping in
so
there.
green. Like so many people just be like, "Man, I'll just do it," and then they rock up and they're like, "Oh, did you think you were getting paid for this shit?" Like
And you're like, now I'm out of pocket. Where am I staying?
yeah,
I don't know.
what
That's
am I
your
doing?
problem.
And the thing is, like, look, to be fair, if you're doing like an opening spot for like a big comedian somewhere, whatever, fair enough. Most of the time, you just assume you're not going to get paid for it, right? But I think that sometimes bad promoters either hope that you like don't ask,
yeah.
or they will just not be open that there is no pay. Like if I
they
ever
hide that. Yeah.
if the way I look at it is if there's money coming in, it needs to go out. So like if I'm doing a free open mic, the assumption is there's no pay for that, right?
Yeah.
Because it's free entry open mic. It's an open mic, so the material is all like raw, like rough material. It's not perfected or anything. Although some people like to rock up to an open mic and do the same shit that they've been doing for like 4 years, and they like do their like tested shit, right?
Yeah.
And it's just like, dude, how about you try something you haven't done before?
Yeah, this is literally the
It's
the
for
test
that.
audience. Like,
Yeah.
it's perfect.
Yeah, so that's how I look at it, is like it's a free open mic, there's no money coming in, that's why I don't have a budget for money to go out.
Yeah.
But if I charge entry on a show, even if it's like a $10 entry show or like up to 20, whatever, and I've got like openers on that show,
Yeah.
I will always either tell them there's no money, no pay for this, but you know, there's something like, you know, if there's like a tab or whatever, get some drinks, have some food, I'll be upfront with that. It's like, you're either going to get like a meal and a drink or the money that a meal and a drink costs. Like you choose what you want to do with it. But I'm upfront with that a lot of the time.
And I think you're going to get better quality, like, from that, like people and performances and
as well.
trust. Yeah. And then like that's going to form those relationships for later on if you are, you know, booking them for paid stuff or, you know, either which way, maybe they've got something and, you know, they hear about a gig. You know, they return the favor and let you know about it. But being upfront, you know, it gives you those expectations and you know. So I think that's definitely the good way to go.
Yeah, no, it's the way to go, and I think that sometimes it's just like I said, even if there's no budget, I don't mind if there's no money.
Yeah,
I just want to know if there's. It goes back to like my like, sort of the way I run it. I get frustrated if other people wouldn't do the same way. So it's like they don't know, but I'm frustrated about something and I don't, because I don't like convey that to them. It's just like some weird thing. It's just like, you know, I might hate someone with a passion, but they don't even fucking know it. So, and it's just because they like put on a gig that was like a $20 entry gig.
Yeah.
I do a 5-minute opener and they're just like, oh, okay, see you, thanks for that. It's just like there's so many times I've done a gig and just been like, hey, before I go, man, I was just wondering, I know it's okay if there is no money, but is there any money for this? Like, it's just like, I don't want to be the fucking one that's like, can I, like...
Yeah.
I always feel awkward.
But I don't see how it's like any different to any other job, like, at all.
Yeah, like if you don't get paid...
I want to know what's up front.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, you look at people who maybe, like, let's say, like, photography or whatever.
Yeah.
Heaps of times people go, oh, yeah, you can come and photograph this event for me, it's good for you, an experience or whatever, not that that's whatever.
You can't pay rent,
but like at least they know up front that it's like, okay, well, we're not paying you. If you want to do this, that would be great, or maybe we can swing you, something. Yeah, but at least and then it's up to you to decide if you're okay with that, if you have the time, if it's not going to cost you too much, or if it is, you weigh up the pros and the cons of the opportunity versus, risk versus reward, I guess.
Yeah.
Because it could be something that might have a lot more exposure than something that you're getting paid a small amount for, so then you can weigh that up.
Yeah, I get it.
And it's up to you, I guess. So if you're up front and they say, no, I don't want to, then, that's fine.
Yeah. No, I totally get it. The best part about this, I've had you on the podcast now twice and never once told you whether you're getting paid for it. Like, it's just fucking... You're like, I just realised I'm my own fucking worst... Yeah, I'm the worst type of person. I'll, literally get you on here to do that just to bitch about myself and not know about it. It turns out I'm my own worst enemy.
It's okay if there isn't any.
Yeah, okay, yeah. I just need to be a bit fucking upfront about it. I get it. It's all good. I look. Well, normally I would just pay in a meal or a drink, but because I can't actually offer you
I'll be back tomorrow.
Back tomorrow, after the weigh-in's done, you'll eat me out of fucking house and home just to make it even.
Yeah, that's it.
That would be my biggest thing. Would be trying not to do that. It would be so hard to not just after not eating for so long, or not eating everything you wanted to eat for so long, to not just go fucking psycho.
But that's why for the majority of it, yes, I'm eating specific amounts of stuff at sort of certain times and stuff, but still eating things that I enjoy eating or versions of or whatever, right up until sort of this very pointy end. Whereas if it was literally... I don't know, chicken and broccoli or something the whole time, then yes, I would. But they also look at the psychology of it.
Yeah.
So when you start doing a restricted kind of diet and stuff, the psychology behind it is, and a lot of fighters end up having not an eating disorder as in anorexia or bulimia, but the associated mental relationship with food, very similar to an eating disorder or
well, eating disorder ranges so far. Eating too much is a disorder.
But just the very similar
mental state,
mental and ideas and relationship with food and stuff. And it comes from a lot of that whole I always need to make weight mentality when you're not necessarily looking at performance. And weight-based sports, you've got to weigh yourself all the time, and that's one of those things. You see it go up, you go down. You need to realize whether you're doing it at the same time of the day. Well, for females, where you are in your cycle can dramatically change it, so you'll see weight do all kinds of things. You need to be mentally okay with that. So they also kind of figure out what their athletes are like, and a lot of them will be like, we're only checking it once a week. And then sort of, as you get closer towards the end, we may have to, we're going to have to check it every day. And then potentially when you're doing your weight cuts and stuff, you're doing it constantly. But, they take into account that kind of stuff too, which is why they ask you what kind of things you like to eat. So you're not, because as soon as you start thinking that you're on, a diet or restriction, and if you say to them, look, I love chocolate and I need to have a bit of it, then they will just be like, okay.
Yeah.
Well, what we're going to do is we're going to program that in there that you can have a small amount of chocolate, and the kind that you like. We're not going to make you eat carob or something.
Yeah.
So that then you don't have as many cravings. You're not then, because that's where people go crazy with it too, is that they can't maintain it. They can't maintain that long 8 weeks and then we'll just go and have a whole day, or they'll miss one and then go, oh, well, I've already broken it for today, so every meal is going to be whatever. So they avoid all of that kind of stuff. Make sure that you have a good, healthy relationship with food. You are eating similar things that you like eating, but also hitting your goals and that kind of stuff too. Obviously, the closer you get to fight time, the less we can sort of make it be exactly what you want to eat. But,
But it's not all the time. It's just sort of closer to fight time. It's not like every day of your life.
Yeah,
you know?
well, every day I have, like, I obviously want to, like, there's an overall amount of calories that I need to have, or, you know, I don't want to be going too far over to make sure that during those 8 weeks that I am slowly dropping.
Yep.
You know, so it'll just be targets of weights that of, we want to be in a ballpark of around this in this week and around this in this week.
Yeah, yeah.
It's not a every day. It's not a we don't need to be checking that much, and we just, if you have any issues, we just adjust things, and it's only minor adjustments. And they work with a lot of people and bring them back if they've like ruined their metabolism, to, you know, have them so you are still eating lots of food and you're eating frequently and you're eating the kind of things that you like, even if it's not going out and getting Mexican, but you can have it at home.
A version of that.
Yeah, and like very similar, like same. It's just making sure the proportions are right, that you want quite a lot of meat and you want a lot of protein. You're probably going to have a little bit less carbs, but if you're training heaps and you're still in the training phase of the 8 weeks, you're going to have a lot of that. So, you know, and you're going to make sure that you've got some fiber in there and your other stuff as well. So, you know, and fats as well. So there's your things like your cheese or your, you know, mayonnaise or whatever it is, aioli. Like, so, yeah. And I guess that plays a bigger role than people realize because of the psychology behind it, because you're not as bad, like I'm craving everything that I know I can't eat.
Yeah.
Because you're eating things that you kind of enjoy.
Yep.
Or a version of.
Yeah. Do you think it's I mean, in your experience, have you ever seen any sort of situations where, because of not like dietary requirements, but like elective dietary requirements like vegan or vegetarian would severely affect the ability to cut weight because it's not like the replacements of those things?
Not really.
You can't.
There's heaps of vegan athletes and vegetarian athletes. Obviously, they need to be getting what they need to be getting. So whether there's supplementation there as well, or, you know, they just eat very different things. So they still need to be making sure they're hitting the amount of protein that they need, but it'll just be coming from different sources. So that's where a dietitian can also be handy if you, like, even if you're not an athlete, but let's say you want to go vegan because of, you know,
your choice,
your choice, you know, animal welfare and that kind of stuff. But a lot of people have wrecked their bodies from just going straight vegan and not really knowing a lot about food and what they can eat, so they're just living off of, you know, like potato chips or
just eating what they used to eat without the meat and not replacing it.
Yeah, whereas like even a dietitian would be handy in that kind of scenario to be like, because they can open up your world, because there's so much research and stuff that they've done into what those other alternatives are, and things that you can eat that you'll probably still quite enjoy. But yeah, no, they work with such a wide variety, and there's so many different things out there now that they can. Obviously, most of them find it easiest if you eat meat, but I mean, like, there's that many like plant proteins and all of that kind of stuff out there as well, and just heaps of other things high in protein, so they're really good to work with anyone. It more comes down to the type of person you are and if you're actually going to stick with stuff, and they're doing a lot of research now at the moment about like personality traits and stuff, and what is like what kind of personality traits people who find it like easier to stick to something possess, and what their thought process is. So a lot of it, if it's future based, going like, you know, the pain now is worth the reward for later, and, you know, if that's the kind of people that, and those thoughts are what's going to help you through, versus the thoughts about right now. So yeah, there's a lot of research going into all of that stuff at the moment, which is really, really interesting. I'm interested to see what the results are. I think that'll help a lot of people, because the idea of like a diet isn't always someone's like way to go. I did keto for a while. I dropped heaps of weight. I went from like 96 down to 76. So 20 kegs. And then after that, like, just ballooned out. Like, after I stopped that mental, like, I'm on a diet thing. See, I think that's the issue though, because it's like, if it's not maintainable, it's never going to be maintainable.
But yeah, I think that like I've had better experiences with like the slow burn, like the like just change how my lifestyle as opposed to go on a diet.
Yeah. And
so,
that's basically what I do with
Yeah.
my dietitian. It's just literally about, well, we have to manipulate things as we get closer to the competition because weight-based sport. But yeah, that's what I mean. Like they preach and talk about is having that healthy relationship where you don't think that you're on a diet, because the minute you think you're on something that you can't have something,
yeah,
that's when you crave things.
Yeah.
Like, you know, any regular day, if you're not hungry and someone said, oh, hey, do you want, you know, I don't know, some kind of sweet or whatever, and you just ate, you'd be like, no, I don't.
yeah,
I'm not hungry. But if you've known that you can't have it, then you just crave it, and you like the amount of fighters. And I do this too, but I've always enjoyed watching cooking shows. But the amount of fighters when they're in camp that watch like food shows or cooking shows, like when I can't eat something, when I started, like I would avoid going out for dinner with people and avoid putting myself in those scenarios because I wasn't mentally equipped to deal with it, I felt, to begin with.
Okay.
Like, it's hard, but now I can sit right next to someone eating something that I love. I'll be like, can I smell it?
yeah,
You know?
yeah,
And it brings me joy actually, like cooking for someone else or watching them eat something that I would like to eat, whereas it just would infuriate me to begin with when the first few times I'm just like, I can smell a carb a mile away.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
You know, I can smell rice being boiled kind of thing, you know. Subway bread.
You like sense it out. That's awesome. Now, I just realized that although like it's actually good that we got to that because about like the start of the conversation, I was like, holy shit, should we talk about food for an hour?
Yeah, no, I don't mind.
Yeah.
And some people will never get past that though. Like, some people can't deal with it.
It's like drinking or smoking. People that are trying to quit, they're like, don't like it.
Take myself out of that situation. Yeah.
And then eventually, I know people that have like not smoked for like 7 years or whatever. They're like, oh, I'm fine now, but like initially they couldn't.
Yeah, but I think it's also got to do mentally and stuff as well. Like, it's more likely to affect me if I'm having a mentally tough day, if something else has happened.
Yep.
And I'm not feeling great. So now, because I've looked at some of the research and you know, I've probably self-reflected that I know that.
Yep.
So, you know, going to the supermarket, if I'm having a good mentally day, even if I haven't eaten in ages, I'll be okay. If I'm having a rough day and I'm just smelling everything I can't have.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm thinking about it because, you know, when you get emotional and you want to eat something comfort, and so that's like 4,000-fold.
Yeah.
So I think that's a bit of it as well, because I know I do get hangry at the best of times in normal life.
Yeah.
But it really is every time I look at something, and like I always think this pointy end would be much worse than earlier on because I'm eating even less. It's very restricted. It's less like the stuff that I like to eat, or like I'm not eating at all today.
Yeah.
That would be the worst part. But because I'm so close to the goal, it's like nothing is going to shake me. Nothing is going to waver me. You could sit there and eat every one of my favorite food in front of me, like have it drip on me or something, like throw it in my face, and I'd be like, I'm not going to have a single bite of it. Like, that doesn't faze me at all. But when it's further away, I feel like that can also sometimes be hard.
Yeah.
But because it's now closer, it's like mentally I'm in that zone. There is nothing going to stop me from achieving my goal. And I think that's the thing that I've learnt to try and take with me earlier in the process now. And I think that's it, is it's always looking at, I want to fight more than I want to eat this thing. And, you know, and it might be slightly uncomfortable, but it's not that bad. It's in my mind that I'm craving it that bad.
Yeah.
And so, like, that becomes, I guess, your power there, that you just reaffirm with yourself, well, no, how bad do you want the end result?
Yeah.
Well, I want that really badly, so this means nothing.
I know in the previous episode we spoke, I just kept calling back to it, but we covered so much, it's a good reference. the previous episode we spoke a bit about when you first started to do some of the like getting into training. There was not a lot of like female only classes or like for other females to practice with, and a lot of the time you would have to like verse other guys.
Yeah, it's still like that.
It's still like that.
So, like, there's a lot of women's only classes and stuff in terms of, like, one element. So, say, jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
So, you'll see a lot of women only jiu-jitsu classes. Muay Thai seems to be a fair bit of women in that. But sort of MMA, there's still really only, like, usually one in a gym, maybe two.
Yeah.
In some places like Sydney where there's heaps of gyms and heaps of people around, there are some places where it's like they all train at other gyms, but they all go and do a class together to help spar each other and stuff at one particular place, or they'll go to each other's gyms and stuff. It's still only a few generally at each one, but, you know, in some of those places they're lucky enough to have quite a few so they can do that. But yeah, I mean, like, there's getting to be more and more in the sport, which is great. And, yeah, people are open to doing that, like traveling to another gym, even if it is local or whatever, to go and spar with, you know, some other girls. But generally, I always train with guys.
Yeah. Yeah, so, no, I mean, it probably...
It's just how it is.
When you're versing people that are in, like, a higher weight limit than you, it probably comes in handy, I guess, to have had that training with someone that in most cases would be heavier or bigger than you. Or
stronger. Like, even if they're the same weight division than you, a male's always going to be stronger than you. So that's the thing too. The only downside is women use their bodies very differently. Yeah. Very differently. But if you have some form of understanding of that, then you're okay. When you're always grappling people bigger than you or sparring people bigger than you, you do have to learn to use technique. You can't just strength through it. So I think that's why female fighters generally are quite technical. Yeah. As opposed to just brute strengthening something. However, you do need to, like, if you can go in grappling comp so you understand how women use their bodies when they grapple, because it's differently because we're heavy set, like in the lower body versus upper body, and obviously so there's a fair bit of difference in how they use their body. But also you got to remember, if you're always sparring people on the feet striking who are heaps longer and taller than you, you need to also find sparring partners that are at least a similar size-ish. Yep. Because otherwise your game plan is going to, like, you would never fight someone, you know, I would never fight someone 7 foot tall and, you know, arms twice the length as me. So what I would need to do to spar with them in the gym is completely different to what any of my tactics would ever be when I fight. But it's good to know them and work on different things as well. But in the same respect, like, it's good to always spar with people smaller than you, like, even if they're stronger than you because they're a guy, but at least, like, have different reaches, different body types, different weights, different sizes. Like, I think it's a good thing as long as everyone's looking after each other, and you obviously train in a gym where you do that. Obviously there are some old school places that still try and have fights before fights and they all take each other's heads off, and I don't think that's the way to go in this day and age, because you probably won't have a very long career. And you will get CTE. But if you're in a good safe gym, then you should be able to spar with everyone. That
all rounds everything off well. I feel like this is like a good second episode to round off the first one. I'm going to drop in a note here. If you haven't listened to the first episode that I did, I'll put that one in the description for the playback. So everyone that hasn't seen the first one should go back, because it covered off a lot of cool things. But I'll wrap it up with some last bit. This is a pre-fight interview. The replay will go out on Monday, so that'll be post-fight. So
yes, it will.
I want 2 reactions. Tell me. Like, what do you think? What do you think the 2 reactions are going to be? You got win-loss. It's all win, though, isn't it? Yeah. So there's no other reaction?
No.
Okay, so I want you to go back into the camera, that one, because it's the replay, and tell yourself in the future about how you're going to win this fight.
Oh, jeez.
Well, no, tell yourself how you feel because you know you're going to win, right?
Yeah,
So
we're going to be celebrating that TKO.
Good. I feel like I just fucking forced you to do something weird. Nah, it's good.
No, go me. We'll be enjoying some great celebratory food, maybe even some cake.
Finally, after all the cutting. So yeah, I don't know, it's weird because we're doing like a live show pre-fight and a replay will go up post-fight, so I figured it was like a perfect time to be like, talk to yourself in the future. But yeah, all right, well, what can we see for the upcoming fights? What's any shout outs or plugs or anything that you've got?
I've got so many. So obviously tonight is weigh-ins. Tomorrow I'm fighting on Endouro Fight Series here in Canberra. If anyone is interested in actually watching it, there is a live stream.
Because the live show sold out.
Yeah. So being there in person, tickets are all gone. It's been sold out. So, but there is a stream, and I believe it's on the Kombatants app or platform. So you can obviously have a look there. Big thank you for me to my sponsors and just the businesses that I work with and that support me. So I've got like Dark Forge, which is a tattoo studio in Newcastle, and they are incredible. Victory Recovery Systems, got some really cool gear. Jolt Fightwear and Savage Fightwear. Dirty Clean Eats, which if you've ever watched my Instagram stories when I'm drinking that weird orange stuff, Jamu, that's them. Cage and Canvas, which is an Aussie company that makes like boxing and MMA gear, some really, really cool stuff there as well. And pretty much everyone that supports me, I just want to say a big thank you. And my gym, which is Nova Martial Arts, which is in Heatherbray, which is also obviously in Newcastle. So it's not just me fighting tonight. It's also one of my training partners, Asif. So, yeah, we're both fighting tomorrow night, so it should be really good. And I've actually got another fight lined up for later this year, but I've also potentially got some other news in the works. Potentially, so stay tuned on my social media. So I'm Drop Bear MMA on across everything. Yeah, pretty much. So
I feel like that's the real like post-fight win speech. All right, so just mentally take that, and you know how sometimes you get the interview and it's just going to be like really short. That's the extended version, the full breakdown of all the people that you want to thank. Right?
Yeah. But just follow me on social media, Drop Bear MMA, and reach out to me if you ever want to. If you ever take any photos, just throw up the claws and tag me. Like I see everything, I run my own social media, so there's no one else you'll actually get me. And if anyone wants to follow my fight journey, just find me there.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, well, check all that out, and everything is all on the socials, which is awesome. I like that it's all in one place and it's all across all the platforms. I even follow you on Twitch too. Follow the Twitch. There could be more content coming up. But cheers for being on the show, and
thanks for having me.
I know you've got a fight for Goulburn coming up as well.
Main event in Goulburn in April.
So a lot of the people that follow my socials are Canberra based, so that's not actually too far away. So if you want to see anything in person and you obviously can't make it to tonight, you can watch the stream if you're checking this out live. And if you're watching the replay over there, make sure you check out the socials for that one, because Goulburn's a not too far away trip, and it'll be a good one. So cheers everyone for tuning in, and thanks for being on.
Me.
Oh, we got to do the sign off on this side.
Bye.
Okay, and then on this side. There we go. Cheers.
Don't buy me a drink. Just name names. Right, Big Tony. You'll get fucking thrown out of
The strip club with your floppy disk.
all day. Make people feel shame for shit all day.
Don't blow
Turn
it.
it into a hard drive.
Right. We're here
Keep it simple. Count your money.
that they're not proud of.
Just give me $10.
They've declared your winner by unanimous decision from the red corner, Danielle Drop Bear Curtis. thanks. So I'll let you get right to it. How special does that feel?
It is amazing. For those of you that don't know, yes, I'm fighting out of Nova Martial Arts in Newcastle, but I am a Canberra girl. That's why I know so many people here. Firstly, thank you to my amazing opponent. She's one tough cookie, and I can't thank her enough. Secondly, Ben and Mick, this is an incredible show, especially for their first one. Thank you to all my sponsors, Dark Forge Tattoo in Newcastle. They are fucking amazing. Sorry for the swearing. Victory Recovery Systems, Savage Fightwear, Joel Fightwear, Dirty Clean Eats, Run It Back Podcast, and Cajun Canvas. And thank you to my amazing team from Nova Martial Arts. Couldn't have done it without them. And thank you to my amazing crew over there. They mean the world to me. Thank you to every single one of you that showed up, and especially my boyfriend, Jared. He's my Dwayne Johnson, as I call him, because he's my rock. Thank you so much to everyone here. If you take any photos, if you throw up the drop bear tonight, tag me, message me. Every single social media account I have is Drop Bear MMA. So find me, reach out to me. I'll answer every single one of you. Thank you, guys. I love you so much. You're all amazing. Have a great night.
Ladies and gentlemen, your winner, Danielle Curtis.